our dear listening audience, we greet you with greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Let us open up with our Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amen. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah. Nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu. Nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. Lahul mulk wa lahul hamd wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Again, we want to greet our listening audience here in America and the various countries around the world with the greetings from all of these prophets that we've been speaking about. Assalamu alaikum. It's indeed an honor to be with you this morning, continuing, and this will be the last of our commentary on Musa. We say alayhi salam, Moses, and we know we finished before Moses. We finished Aaron on the 5th level, and so we have moved to the 6th level. And we know Aaron was given to Moses as a helper. We heard that in those sessions, but not just to speak. You know, Moses, he could talk. He gives Moses the language of the culture. And again, we've heard that, so we'll emphasize that because we're continuing to build on that in the human ascension, and the life and the potential that's dormant in many of us that is to be awakened when we come into these characteristics that we find. So he represents culture, as was stated very clearly. And again, that's the 5th. So we've moved from the 5th to the 6th. And you may have heard even some of the expressions, education, culture, truthfulness, various things also said about other prophets and their speakers. And that's one of the beautiful things about the Study Al-Islam program. We have the various different speakers, and the diversity and the emphasis just gives us a much better picture when we listen to all the different speakers and begin to put that all together and keep them where we are. So this is beautiful. So Moses comes after Aaron, and we mentioned that Aaron representing culture among much things. This is the main emphasis of him, we see. But Moses, we'll be discussing today an aspect. Some have touched on other elements. This was in there. Again, as I said, many have different emphasis that we put, that we see when we study the commentary. We study the symbols, the light, and primarily the commentary of Imam Dr. Muhammed. Moses, one of the things we want to highlight is him representing government, teaching, but government, specifically the organization of man in society. He had to organize the society, and he established also the law, and he established the rules. Now, this is significant. First of all, we have to look at, it may have been mentioned also that Moses, he's mentioned more than any prophet in our Holy Quran, the culminating book, the final revelation in the form of a book. And he says, he's doubled, tripled, quadrupled the times of the prophet. That tells us that there is an emphasis, and we get a picture of his life in the various stages. Allah talks about we come in from weakness to strength, and we get in old age. We find him, we see him coming into that, in his life. So this is something that Allah wants us to see this picture in him and to study him. So he represents government, liberating government, we can say. We heard that he's a liberator. We heard that too also, because again, that's what he is. So liberating government, but liberating government upon moral justice and moral conscience. Moral conscience, Liberation, organizing people for a good life in society. Freedom is to be seen in a community, in a community life, in a community context, in the context of government, in the context of organized society. That's six. Six. He's on the sixth level. Man was created on the sixth day. On the sixth day, and he's last. And he's given the authority to do the kind of things we were talking about, to be the custodian, to organize, to help to govern. Khalifa is one of the terms we're given in the Quran of the verse. To be over, to be on top. And we know we find that when we look at even the human being, his life coming from the baby. The baby comes up, makes the sajda, comes up, goes up front, and then goes on top. So the head, and we know six. Physical things are here. The physical context is here, and then coming out of that, over that, is the head. The head on top. The center of intelligence. The head to feed the information, to put things in order. The body itself has this order, it has a governance. But it comes to the head. The structure is there, but the head again helps feed and get us guidance. And look at now. This is the sixth level. Now, if we can get this right in our ascension, we're getting close to the final. The final is seven. Now, look at even some of the signs. To tell us how important this is to come in. It says in this. They changed. In the language they say on the seventh day he rests, but they associated rest with seven. Rest. And satisfaction. Now, Ibrahim, who again is on the seventh level, he came into rest and satisfaction. Nefel Mutmaina, right? The stuff that's peace and at rest. We understand that seven is not saying that Allah, highly glorified to see the Almighty, that He sat down and He rests. No, we understand that now, particularly when we look at the context of even the days of the week that we're looking at, just the days of the week now, at seven in the society and seven also in the suspension, that in moving towards the end, one of the things that gives us satisfaction is if we've done certain things in this evolution, in this ascension, and then had this proper governance that we're talking about, then we're going to be at peace and satisfaction. All the work that comes up under that, we'll be at peace and be satisfied. It don't mean to sit down, it don't mean that you're satisfied. You're satisfied. And so before we can get to that point of being satisfied, there has to be governance put in place to obtain that. And so it all starts with Adam. Again, he's the first man, but when we look at it, as we learn that, did he reach the destiny? But we can say, did he reach the goal that Allah had intended for us as human beings to govern our human life upon this excellence that all life was created upon? Now, Adam, we know that we see that he was the seed. He was the seed, this appetite, this curiosity. He wanted to know things, and through that hunger, we know Satan seduced him. Satan got him off the moral path. We ought to come back to return, and life is about return. That's one of the things we say when anyone passes. We mention, we come from a long return. So life is about return, but not just when you complete it. It's now. It's about return. So we have to come back to return. Intended for us, from the very beginning. When we look at Adam, then we ought to come back to the life upon the health that we get from the flesh, the physical life that Allah gave us. We look at, it was mentioned about chapter 23, and also in that stage, those 7 stages of life, it's talking about the flesh, and one we know, looking at that as also representative of Moses in a different way. But again, you're saying you close it with flesh. So again, Allah is putting our attention back on this, the flesh, the blood life. If we look at that life, because the body wants you to stay here. You know, when you're about to put something in your mouth that's going to make you sick, your body will warn you. You know, it makes you remember. You know, memory comes from the body, your flesh body. It's in your body. You know, if you forget something, it's not going anywhere. It's in your flesh body. If you're about to commit a big crime that's going to mess up your life forever, you know, you feel fear. You know, y'all called mortal fear. And that water, it comes again from your flesh body. So we're not to underestimate the role of the flesh, your flesh, in determining my flesh, in determining what you do and how far you will go with your life. Prophet Muhammad, the prayers and the peace be upon him. We know from many reports that he never stood for what we may call big shots, so to speak. You know, persons. You know, he really wanted to discourage that kind of behavior in society, so he wouldn't get out of his seat and stand. You know, so you know, we today, you know, we do that out of respect. You know, most of the time, you know, we're innocent, so we do most of the time, and sometimes we may be looking for a favor from that person. You know, but Muhammad the Prophet, the President, peace be upon him, he didn't do that. But he showed that he had so much respect for the flesh body. You know, we find in one report there was a funeral procession. They were carrying about it. They were carrying about it on their shoulders. And when they came near the prophet, the President, peace be upon him again, he stood. He stood up and he waited until it had passed. And then he sat back down. So again, we mentioned about reports about him not standing. The companions, in the family report, they were surprised because they knew that he hadn't stood for a living person. So they had to ask him, why did you stand for that dead body? And our prophet, again, the President, he said, it did nothing but obey its master. So you understand that, you know, the body was not guilty of any sin. If it did any wrong, it was that person's fault, not the body's fault. The body's not going to be judged. It's going to be judged. So the body gives us the help. It gets things right. You know, so it comes again on the sixth day. All that physical, all that flesh, now it begins to feed the mind that's on top. And you know, we have even in the reports on the beginning, in the scriptures previous, it says, "Let there be light. Let there be light." Now the scripture, it means that again, Imam Muhammad, he says, let there be knowledge in the heads of people. You know, he said they teach us to think that Allah's first order was that man should strive for spiritualism, when it really means that man should strive for knowledge. And so look at this. Now Moses, again, we're talking about government, what he represents, government. And he's associated with commandment. He's associated with commandment. And so now, the first, what we see before we get to that coming is this first statement in the beginning that the first commandment of God is to let the brain grow in intelligence and let the head be lit with light. How you going to govern in the dark? You have to have light. This is the first commandment, because if there's no light in the head, what can we expect from the body? It's the believer. The head has to rule over the body. You know, we have many, again, so much on Moses. Again, peace be upon him. And one of the stories we have associated with Moses is the sea, the water parting. One of the scriptures says that, and Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right and on their left. And so, if we look at, Moses being pursued by Pharaoh's army, this is taking place. We saw some of his evolution. And so now just at the stage now, the Exodus is on, and he's pursued by Pharaoh's army, he struck the water. And we're given the Red Sea parted. And then Moses and his people, they walked across on dry land. So, again, Imam Dr. Muhammed, this is one of his earliest commentaries on this symbolism, the language, scriptural language. Here. He said, you will never convert intelligent people to religion today with unrealistic, symbolical stories like that. That we do not see any sea parting now. No matter how holy the people are, we don't see that happening. He said, if these are the kinds of miracles that God can perform, I am sure that as long as we have suffered as a people, and as much as we have cried out, holding fast to all that we had from the church, the Bible said Almighty God would have opened up some path for us, or he would have produced some bridge for us to walk over out of America into a better land. Again, this is Moses, he's giving a lot of emphasis in the Torah. So if he performed that miracle for the Hebrews who were in bondage, and that bondage was not as full as our bondage. We know, we look at the history, that story is recited over and over again, and anytime people compare something to being liberated, coming out of that's one of the stories that we have in scriptural history to pull from. But again, we look at, our situation here. It seems that as hard as our people have preached in slavery, and as much as we sang praises to Allah, and called on Jesus here in America, others are listening to us from around the world, but the majority that we're speaking to is based, most of them, their families were Christians. They've awakened to Islam. Some say convert, some say revert, or we say awaken. We did. And we would have produced a miracle similar to the one for us here in America, if that's the case. But we know there has been, but we have to be trying to understand these miracles now. Imam was giving us commentary. He said, when iron is heated to a great degree, it gets red in color. He said, pale people also turn red in color when they get angry. So the ancient people, they used red to symbolize anger. Water is used to mean people in Scripture. Red Sea means angry people. Moses striking the water means that he struck the moral justice of the people. When he appealed to the moral conscience of the angry people, they backed off and let Moses and his people walk through. He didn't strike the land, he struck the water, meaning that he appealed to the people who had moral conscience, like he and his people had. So when he first did this, again, that was quoting Imam Dr. Muhammad. And the majority of what we're saying, again, is based on his commentary. When he first did this, Pharaoh's army let Moses' people go. Pharaoh didn't like this. So he sent his men out to pursue them. When Pharaoh and his men went after them, they were drowned in the water of the Red Sea. This means that the people rebelled against Pharaoh and refused to obey his orders after Moses appealed to the moral conscience. So if the message of the story is only that Allah made the physical sea open up, then that's not worthy enough for grown-ups to want to read. Allah is saying to you that you should trust the moral conscience. This is something that exists in people. This is in every human being. You should appeal to the moral conscience, and you will find that the majority of the people are morally persuaded. And we see this in the society. Certainly those who live in America and other places around the world, we see this happening, If we cannot get an agreement from our rulers, then we should appeal to the moral conscience of the public, and we will find that they will be enough, and there will be enough support in the people to push back. To push back, and in some cases, overthrow wicked rulers. We've seen this really in history. Leaders who were wrong, were wicked, and they know this, and that's why they deny, people who are right and just the opportunities they try to speak to the public, and and various times we've seen, because they try to keep a critical grip on the masses, because this is something that's in the nature of the human being. And again, this first we find it, this is it's in the body which doesn't lie. We find that they do things. We've seen some people, they would kill them before they give them an opportunity to speak to the public. And they try to kill them in different ways, and not physically sometimes in some societies they try to kill it in different ways. And we've seen some of that too. They know that if the person gets an opportunity to speak, his speech openly and clearly to the public, then he would get enough support to overthrow this corruption, this wickedness. Because Allah has made a human being not to be corrupt. He has made human beings to move when his spirit touches them. And again, this is why we have Moses associated with the water and coming on the land as well. Imam Muhammad said the original nature that Allah set, he says this Melchizedek, and many of us we associated Melchizedek, and he said that it is the spirit of truth. Actually, Malik as-Sadiq is really where it comes from. Malik al-Sadiq, as-Sadiq. Malik, you hear king, ruler, and then you hear Sadiq, truth. Malik, the spirit of truth. But he says, but only when the nature is consciously being transmitted. Again, we're relating it to the liberating government upon moral justice and moral conscience. This is what we were saying is one of the representations of Moses. And so, again, Imam is saying that the original nature that Allah set is the spirit of truth. Again, referred to some as Melchizedek. Again, we know Malik al-Sadiq, as-Sadiq, being transmitted in the right way and purity. Purity, just like the nature that we have, is being transmitted when it's transmitted to the consciousness. He said that's Melchizedek. Now, and Moses, he had trouble. Again, another aspect of his life. Looking at as he's growing, he's getting to the point where Allah wants us to see. And Moses, he did have trouble following that. Moses was a man given to temperamental outbursts. It's another picture that we've given him. But that was before his prophethood. The truth of him and the wise man was before his prophethood. Once he got understanding, Melchizedek said, it's on you now. Your conscience. It has entered your conscience. It shows, you how the conscience is supposed to be the leader. And this is what the stage is going to highlight. The nature is supposed to awaken the conscience only. But once the conscience is awakened, then it's supposed to study nature to improve upon the nature and to free the nature, to give it greater freedom to that nature. So it begins to prepare a place for the nature, a greater place in the world, a more dignified place in the world. But it can't do anything until it first gets life. And this is Moses. That's Moses, Now Moses, he finally saw when Hitler told Moses, told him 3 times. He told him 3 times that at the end of this 3 times, that's the key to the number of times that it told Moses. Because on the third time meant that now it has entered into your spiritual conscience. Physical, mental, spiritual. 3, 3, 6. But it's at Moses. The nature tries to awaken us. Nature itself, through the flesh. But that's not where it wants to get. It wants to get into the consciousness. So it finally comes up in the intellect. Again, this is 6. 6 over the 5. The 5 senses, 6. And they call that also intuitive too. But for every outer, there's an inner. The inner directs the outer. And that's, you see that as intuitive. Now, and the intellect is blind to a lot of things. You can't see it, but finally, it gets through the intellect into the conscience. And once it gets there, then that's it. You're supposed to take it from there. So nature, it'll knock on your rational mind. It'll do that forever, but once it enters your conscience, if you don't pay attention to it, it'll just slip right away. It'll let you know. If that's what you want to do, then go ahead. That's how it goes. So the conscience means that really you have recognized it. When once a thing enters your conscience, you recognize it. You have accepted it. You know, whether you understand it or not, you have accepted it. Once you have accepted it, it is your responsibility. You know, the wrong can be in your habits. Wrong can even be in your rational thinking. But you won't be punished for it. You know, but once it enters your conscience, you know, a lot of people do wrong, but they do it because their intellect can't see it. When the intellect sees the wrong, sees the evil, that means it has entered. And you're responsible. Nature made a mother to birth conscience. You know, and it's so beautiful that Allah gives us. We have nature, our physical, the earth that we come from, and even the mother we come from. But we see how the conscience comes out of that. You can't have a conscience first without coming out of the mother. You know, that's a beautiful picture of mother. Again, you know, and nature is our mother. Mother isn't going to care for us always. You know, she's going to care for us until we're responsible. You know, and if you're not responsible, it's your fault, is what mother's saying, because I taught you right. You see? And again, this is happening in the body, physical body. Let's tell your moon. If we don't have any water, we all come from water. And we know water represents, again, the moral, spiritual nature. And that cleans us. We come from water. But Allah said, if you don't have water, I still give you an opportunity to get clean, to get it right, to make sure you have the right things coming from the head to correct the body. So tell your mom, we go to the earth. Now we go to the earth. And look at and tell your mom, is the root of that, the root word is the root of tell your mom. They're using the earth to wash ourselves before prayer that we're instructed to do if we don't have water. The root of that word is mother. It's That's the actual root. And listen to how it sounds. It says tell your mom. You hear tell your mom, and even to your. It sounds like that. To go back to your mother. You know. So Allah is trying to get us back to that nature that He gave us, so we can see how to govern our life. Look at the nature, the natural picture that we're given to govern our life. And I see our time is moving, so we'll get ready to close out as well. You know, I just want to also mention this one piece, if we could. Moses was instructed to take off his shoes, and we know this that you're on holy ground. The man was telling us again, shoes. This is also connected with governance as well. Shoes mean the spiritualism of the world that he was a part of. This is what he's saying. Shoes, and take off your shoes. What it represents. You know, he had to take it off. You know, and of course, Shu is a mythological god in the mythology of ancient Egyptian religion. Okay, so this was common. Now, so you go back, this was common. Shu is a sky god, symbolic of spiritualism or the spiritual sciences. So if he was told to take off his shoes, you're on sacred holy ground, because that's the world's idea of what spiritual science should be or is. This is what God is telling us. You know, the Quran speaks about this in 2012. So he got there and he heard the voice basically saying that, and so again, we wanted to say that. We don't have time to do any more drawdown on that. So we just want to say that we're very grateful for your time, for your ears. We pray to Allah that we've said something to make a contribution to the ascension, the stages, the potential that's in all of us as human beings. And we'll be moving now. Next week, we'll be moving to the seventh, Ibrahim, alayhi salam. We want, again, as we thank you, we also want to thank our dear sister Isra Muhammed. And we want to say for her and for all of us who are listening, that we should pray for each other, good, that they'll be able to do more good, and Allah continues to guide them to do more things that are useful and beneficial and resourceful as leaders. I greet you all with the greetings of peace